Hello and welcome to this new episode of From Dial Square to Where. Two guests on today. How are you, Psycho Mank?
I'm all right, matey. How are you, Andrew? Pleasure to be on, mate.
Yeah, pleasure to have you on, mate. I'm okay, thank you. I'm okay. You're not too bad at all. And how are you after your travels over to London, Tanner?
Settling back in. The weather is definitely a little worse here than it is over in your guys' neck of the woods. We're a lot colder. And if this would have been about 20 minutes ago, you could look right out my window here and you would have seen a pretty good bout of snow flurries. But overall doing well. And thanks for having me on. Really appreciate it.
Ah, you're very welcome. At least you'll get a white Christmas. We don't get those very often anymore, do we, over here? So, yeah, excellent. Well, you look. We're just talking off there and a bit about your trip. You'll have to go into that a bit more detail later. But it looks like you had a fantastic time anyway. And you're back over in March, is that right?
Hopefully. I haven't made the arrangements yet, but that's what I'm looking for right now. I'm hoping to get back for the West Ham match at home, and then travel down to Brighton and go to the away match in Brighton. So that's the plan right now, anyway.
I'm just wondering, Tanner, seeing as you've been over here, have you actually ever seen Arsenal win while you've been over here?
Actually, last year I did pretty well.
That wasn't me trying to be funny, by the way. I was just wondering from what you were saying then.
I've seen them win more often than not. I'll put it to you that way. But
right.
the fortunes really started to turn. Quite frankly, last year's Brighton match, the final home match of the season, that's when things started to turn. At least in terms of my luck, anyway. So,
well, to be fair, that's a quite a big part of Arsenal history that will go down as that match. So at least you can say you were there at the lowest lowest point of Arsenal's history this century. But well, you never know. When you come back, you might see some lovely free-flowing, attacking, blistering football under our new manager, Mikel Arteta, as it looks like. And we're going to have an Arteta Tate this evening.
Oh, well done.
I actually take all the credit for that because I came up with it just before the show. So we've got Ryan watching. He's put Tanner, the Sky Sports legend. Yeah, I say we'll have to go. That's amazing. I don't know you wangled that one, Tanner. You got that interview on Sky Sports.
We were walking. I don't even remember where we were coming from. I do remember where we were coming from, actually. She's a big. I'm not a coffee drinker, but there's a little coffee shop. If you guys are familiar with where the Armory is, if you come out of the Armory, the circus right there, which is where we did the interview, just across from the circus there is a little coffee shop, and I started to walk up to the Holloway Road station, said, it might be time to turn around and go back to the flat because I think I've got some business I need to take care of before I start my day here fully.
Oh. Little turtle head.
Yeah, little turtle head poking out. It started a little occasional but no. And so we turned around, we started walking back, and saw them. They had grabbed another guy off the street there, and interviewed him, and then said, "Hey, they heard my fiance and I talking." And it said, hey, if you'd give us a few words here, we'd love to have you on, especially getting an American's viewpoint, which any more the whole, you're an American football fan, like, I don't know why does it matter? But
Tanner, you should have gone, go Tottenham United.
Yeah, right, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Come on, Tottenham City United, let's go. Hang on, no, wait, I said it wrong. It's Tottenham. Tottenham. Come on,
Leicestershire.
What's that, Andrew?
Leicestershire. Come on.
Exactly. Yeah. Hey, are you guys going up to that Leicester Square? Did you
Leicestershire.
That's just reminding me, strangely, of Greg Davis interviewing. What's he called? The guy out of the vampire films, Taylor Lautner, and he was saying to him about what's the sauce.
Yeah,
and he's like, Worcestershire. Like, what is that word?
Worcestershire.
Yeah, it's just.
Oh man,
it's a crazy language we speak, mate. It's a crazy one.
I know it is. I mean, you're trying to. actually explain that to someone. I don't know how you actually work that out. I don't, it's mad. It is a weird language, and you have to give Emery props for actually learning it, because apparently it's one of the most difficult languages to learn. Anyway, I ain't going to go all down that. So it's very, very boring. So I don't even know why I started there. But just quickly before we joined each other, just before we went live, I flicked on to Twitter, send you guys the link to join me on here this evening. First thing I saw was that welcome Arteta. It was trending, but also underneath it's got trending with Arteta out. So, I mean, yesterday though, that's got to be a joke, and I'm sure other fans get involved. But yesterday I saw after Liverpool's, well, if you can call it Liverpool versus Aston Villa, Klopp out was trending. And you click on it, it was all, it's all jokes and people taking the piss sort of thing, really. But I'm pretty sure. I don't know. I couldn't really put anything past our fan base, a lot of our fan base, if Arteta out is genuine. But I mean, let's go into this because it's not been officially announced yet. It should be any time now. Apparently, Man City have given it all the green light. Agreement has been reached with Man City. And I'll have to admit, I really have up until yesterday. I'd say I've had a lot of reservations. I've put it on on Twitter a lot that I will support him 100%, but I don't think he was the right guy for a number of reasons, which I'm sure we'll get into throughout this show. But I don't know, it sounds weird, but I listened to the Arsenal Vision podcast yesterday and listened to Clive and Tim Stillman and Paul talking about it. And I don't know, listening to the whole show, especially Clive, because you know what he's like. He's got such a relaxing voice. You just, you can tell you to do anything and you just go and do it after you listen to his voice, wouldn't you?
Yeah, he should do audiobooks, Clive. He's great. He's got
I know, definitely. But he spoke with an awful lot of sense yesterday, and basically, to cut it all down to a very small piece, it all comes down to having to burn this club to the ground pretty much and start again. And for that job, why wouldn't you feel comfortable giving it to someone, like Arteta? Because I think he could be very much the person we're going to be having to rely on with the youth and bringing the youth through and actually starting afresh, really, with a proper way and a style of football which we can build from, all age groups right through the club. And I finished listening to that and I thought it really does all make sense, and it got me quite excited about it, to be perfectly honest. And it completely, not a complete turnaround, but almost, from my point of view. Tell me, where do you guys stand? I'll start with you first, Tanner. Then, where do you stand with the appointment of Arteta?
I've been reading Twitter for the past few days here now, and everybody has their opinion of who they thought the choice should have been. But the fact is, none of us have a crystal ball. We don't know how this is going to play out with anyone who would have been appointed. I personally am getting excited about it. I like what I'm reading about Arteta from Pep, from Wenger. Even Pochettino had very good things to say about him. So I'm getting excited. But I think my excitement is probably directed more at a fresh start and a new idea and a new beginning. Yeah. And so from that perspective, with is it Michael? I always thought it was Michael Arteta. That's how I've always said it. But
damn Americans.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Mickey.
Mickey. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
We'll just call him Arteta for now. But I like what I'm reading about it. So from the fresh start, the new beginnings perspective, I think he's going to be the right guy. I think expectations have to be tempered right off the bat. He's not going to come in and turn us into the Invincibles by January 1st against United. That's just not going to happen. But get him in here, get his system implemented, let the players get used to him, let him decide, okay, Because right now, I think his biggest problem is going to be figuring out who needs to go, not necessarily who to bring in, but who needs to go. Because there's some big name players in this team that I think probably should be given their walking papers, in my opinion. But yeah, sorry, I not to go off on a tangent here. Overall, the answer is I'm excited for a new beginning. I'm backing Arteta 110%. And yeah, I'm buckling up. I'm settling in. I'm getting ready to go.
Because I think when we appointed Emery, I've said this on loads of times. I know you know, but I looked into his background, so I didn't know too much about him, and that's what put me on a downer straight away, because I could almost sense what was going to happen because of everything that his record previously and what the fans thought of him, and because we haven't got any of that with Arteta. Obviously, he's never managed before, so that's what I think for me is quite exciting. And Nagelsmann got his first job when he was 28 in the Bundesliga. Mm-hmm. He's only 32 now, and look at him, And
that's a great point.
There was an owner of the, I can't remember what team he was at before Leipzig.
Hoffenheim.
Yes, that's of course. So the owner of Hoffenheim was one of the most bravest people there was, because he gave him the job at 28 as a manager in the Bundesliga. And look how he's been, he's gone from strength to strength. And I'm just holding out that, we could have the next Nagelsmann, just being appointed as our manager. You never know, do you?
Let me jump in here real quick, Si, before you answer Andrew's question. Okay. Let me just bring up one quick, I'll say, connection with ownership of Arsenal with Kroenke Sports and Entertainment. 2 years ago,
you got to say Sean McVay.
Yeah, well, I'm going to go with Sean McVay, who then got the Rams to the Super Bowl. And Sean McVay, he was the next big thing. They're having a down year this year, but that's a good American football team over there. His ice hockey team, the Colorado Avalanche, his last name's Bentner. He was actually a head coach in a lower level, but they gave him a chance.
First name Lord.
What's that? Yeah. And then the head coach, and I'm not a big NBA fan, but I do know that the head coach of the Denver Nuggets is a guy with no head coaching experience before he took over the Nuggets. And they're at least right now, anyway, as far as I know, they're a playoff team.
They're playing really well at the moment.
Are they? Yeah, like I said, not a massive NBA fan anymore, but so at least within ownership, there is a fair amount of trust being put into new head coaches with minimal to no head coaching experience at the top level.
Well, I hope that they're doing it for the right reasons.
Sure.
Rather than just being the cheap option.
But the thing is, Andrew, people have said it's the cheap option, but surely Arteta, we have to compensate City to get him.
Oh, significantly, yeah.
So surely he's a more expensive option than getting somebody like Ancelotti who hasn't got a parent club.
It is really. It is.
It doesn't really wash with me that he's just the cheap option.
No, you're right. You're right. Sorry.
You've got two ideas. You're either going with what might stand the test, or what's completely the unknown. And just none of us really know what we might get with Arteta. It could be brilliant. It could be terrible. None of us actually know.
I think that's what is so exciting, really. However, we've just got to give it time and patience, because, like you said, Tanner, it's not going to happen overnight. He's got the same players to work with at the moment, and it's going to take time to actually get these players out and get new ones in. Realistically, you're going to be looking at 3 to 4 windows, aren't you? To get the squad completely revamped, and we're going to have to sell before we can buy. But you haven't really got into your thoughts about the appointment yet, Si. What do you think?
I'm pretty indifferent on it, to be honest. I'm not excited, but I have got more into the idea over the last few days. But that's because I've just been sort of weighing up the pros and cons of. I wanted someone like Allegri, and I liked it when they said about when they interviewed him last time that he told the club, the board members, "This is what I want. Don't tell me what you want. I'll tell you what I want, and then you align yourself with my goals." So I wanted a manager like that would come in and tell them, I want this player, I want this guy, I want to play this way, I want these things to happen. Obviously, that hasn't happened, but you've got to look at what they're actually looking for. It's not who I want to employ, it's who they want to employ. You know, I keep saying to people, how does anybody get off the bottom rung of a ladder if they're never given a chance? You'd never have managers unless, you know, they're born into it where the dad's the owner or whatever. No one would ever get anywhere. So you can't, everybody starts somewhere. Everyone's got to get given a chance at some point. Yeah. Do I think Arteta's first job should be at Arsenal? Probably not. Just because of what he's walking into, as well as it being a big club with expectations, he's not walking into a pretty particularly pleasant situation. But I've just been trying to weigh up why they might have gone with him instead of... So I was looking at and thinking, like I say, with an Allegri, somebody like that, and he'd come in and, well, maybe they obviously don't want somebody like that that's going to come in demanding. They want somebody that's going to align themselves with them. You know, people will say it's a yes man, but you can still agree with the owners and not be a yes man. You can still go about your job in the right way. So I am behind it. I like the idea of it. It's just, for me, the same problem is it doesn't matter who we got in as manager. It's now down to the board again. What can we expect from Mikel Arteta with this squad? Not a lot for me, to be honest.
I don't think he, from what you read and listen to and sort of find out about Arteta, I really genuinely don't think he is a yes man. He's very much got his own mind, and he's quite a strong personality, apparently. He definitely wasn't universally liked in the changing room whatsoever. He's got very strong opinions, so he's not going to have gone in there and said, yes, I'll work with whatever you give me, and, you know, I'll just be happy with what I've got. He's not going to have done that. Do
you not think that's a possibility, Andrew? Because I have sort of looked at it that way as well, and I've gone, maybe he's just looking at it and going, well, here's a chance for me to go into a club that's massive, you know, and I can align myself with these guys and not really put my neck on the line too much. And if it does go tits up, well, people will just look at the board again.
Well, do you know why I think that is going to be the case? Because he's literally putting his whole managerial career on the line for this.
That's what I'm saying. But do you think he's actually doing that at our place? Because surely anybody, it's like somebody said it to me about Freddie yesterday, saying, has he ruined his managerial career now doing his little stint with us? And it's like, I'm not sure about that. No. I don't think Arteta would be the same. I think because our problems aren't just on field, they're off field. 80% of our problems are off the pitch, not on it. So he won't have any say in that stuff. He's not going to pick players he wants. He's not going to get any of that stuff. He's been brought in purely to get the on-pitch stuff good and watchable.
Well,
so that's all I can really give him stick for, is if the football's not very good and the club actually back him with players, then I'll look at Arteta and complain. But until then, he gets a free ride from me.
I think the only people that should, the main people that should be in the microscope, and I don't really buy at the moment still about the ownership. I don't think we need to go quite that high at the moment. The main people that we've got to blame for all of this shit at the moment is Edu, Raul, and Vinay, the main guys.
It's like this window will be Edu's first window, won't it? So it's like, I'm going to judge him off this window because he had no exactly. And even Raul said it, didn't he? That don't give him any credit for anything in this window because he wasn't part of anything, you know. So it's definitely interesting, that backroom setup of who wants to take credit for what and who says it's their job and what isn't. It's just a bit of a mess to me, to be honest. It seems a lot of clowns and not many ringmasters. I don't know.
I actually was having this conversation with someone while I was over there, and I think it was Sunday after the Man City match. And it seems like we went from Arsene Wenger, who was the chief, to now. So we had one chief and too many Indians, to now having too many chiefs and not enough Indians. If that's an American saying. I don't know if you guys ever heard it, but I think you get the sentiment behind it. With Arsene, everything began and ended with him. He was the end all be all of the decision making, of the scouting, of the recruitment, and now we actually find ourselves, the club finds itself in a position where we almost have too many voices sort of wanting to go in too many different directions and nobody to unify them. And this is kind of a thing I've been thinking about, and I had a lot of time yesterday to think, sitting in airports. With Arteta, could he be the guy to come in And even though he's below all of that, could he be the guy to unite the big voices in the back room? Could he be the guy to unite it all and bring it all together? And what I said on Sky Sports, if you guys caught it, and it's a goofy comparison, I know that, but I think you'll get the idea behind it. Arteta is going to be the chef. That's going to be his job. The idea of buying the groceries comes from Raul and Vinay and Edu. Those are going to be the guys that go out and give him the ingredients and say, okay, here's what we've got. Now you've got to go make the meal. Where Arteta's say is going to come in, I think, is going to be, this is the style I want to play. So what are the ingredients that I need to make this particular dish? You guys go get those ingredients, if that makes sense.
This is very similar to what I said a little while back about Emery. I mean, I totally agree with you on what you're saying with Wenger. It was sort of, a board meeting must have been hilarious because it was like, Arsene, what do you think of this? I don't know, Arsene, what do you think of this? Oh yeah, I think that's a great idea. And whereas now, I think you're right, it's all getting a bit Chinese whispers, lost in communication, because we've even seen it, we're talking about managers. Huss wants this guy, Raul wants this guy, Edu wants this guy, and it's like you say, who's unifying them all? But I said the same thing about Emery, which is, I think he'll get decisions on personnel in where he'll go, I want a centre-back, I want a centre midfielder, but then the others will go off and identify who those people are, and then come back to him and say, here's a list, this is who we like, what are your thoughts? I don't think he'll get any resounding final says on anything, and I think that's another big part of why they picked him, because I think he's intrinsically just interested in the on-pitch stuff. I'd be very surprised if Arteta wants to get his hand in all the pies.
That's why it's good. That's why it's good, though, with disappointment, because what really does it matter how much experience he's got when he's going there to work on the training pitch and coach the players? You know, I suppose if you're a really good, strong coach, which is, we get to see whether he is, but we're led to believe that they're chasing him so hard because he is this person. So if he is that person, and he is a really good, strong character and a very, very good technical coach, it doesn't matter how many years he's got behind him. It's just all about his enthusiasm and the message he gets across to his players, and whether they actually listen and take on board what he's saying and put it in practice on the pitch. That's all that really matters. So time will tell, obviously, how good he is. But with the role that he's got as a head coach, that's all that matters. He hasn't got to know about the managerial situation, the management of the club, like anyone else would do, and why you look for that experience. He doesn't need to know all that. He's got the people behind him. And this is the thing. The time will tell, again, how good these people are. Are they going to listen to him? Are they going to actually work on a specific recruitment strategy to find players to play a certain way on the pitch? That is what is so important, and time will tell, I guess. And we need to face facts, right? Because I've been hypercritical of the board, the guys above the managers. But we actually don't know what's going on behind the board. It's all Chinese whispers, like you said, Si, about everything within the club. We don't know what Raul's like. We don't know what Vinay's like, and we don't know what Edu's like, and we haven't even heard Edu speak since he joined the club. So all we know is that they're very slow at doing things, but we don't know they've made some very poor decisions in the past regards play recruitment. We need to now give this guy time to see whether his message to the board and the type of players that he needs to get this style of play, to get this whole new era off to a good start. We need to just find out whether they're actually going to be listening and whether he's going to put the point across loud enough to them about what type of players to buy from now on. So this is a bit of the problem with this fan base, Andrew, is that people wanted the club to go out and get the right man at the point. The people want us to get a manager the day after. You can't do that. It doesn't work like that. It's only worked like that for Everton because Ancelotti's become available. But if he hadn't become available, they'd still be looking for a manager, or they'd have just gone and knee-jerked and got someone else. It's all about, striking while the iron's hot. They've just touched lucky with that. And, I've seen somebody saying yesterday about it's embarrassing that they've gone and got Ancelotti and we've got Arteta.
And although I don't agree with that at all, but we're not in the same situation as Everton Football Club. They're in a position where they're not really under any expectations, where they can just keep throwing money at it. We're not in that position. So that's why, for me, someone like Ancelotti...
we lost him.
Yeah.
But I was never behind the Ancelotti appointment personally, because this has been said. This is not my words. This has been said. I don't know if you guys listen to other podcasts aimed at like I do, but a lot of professional pundits have said the same thing, and I do agree with it completely. That he is, apart from his very first job, which was 30 years ago, Reggiana, I think I may be wrong, but there's a small second division team at the time. He's never been into a position where he hasn't taken over a great club with great existing players that just needed tweaking here and there to take them on to the next level. He's never not done that. We are completely the opposite of a club that needs that type of manager. Completely the opposite. And I'm absolutely sure that Everton are going to find that out themselves, and he's going to find that out themselves. I don't think that's a marriage made in heaven at all.
But that's the thing, Andrew. Like, even if he does brilliantly at Everton, that doesn't mean he'd have done brilliantly if he'd have come here.
No,
it doesn't add up that. I mean, I had a massive tear up with somebody over the weekend, talking about managers, because I said I don't really have a preferred choice. There's people who I think might come in and do a better job, but we're all basing this on previous. None of us are basing it on. None of these guys have actually been managers at Arsenal with the current squad we've got, under the financial pressures we've got. So we don't actually factually know who'd be any good until we give them a go. We don't know that. You can say, oh, well, like me, Allegri might be better, but he could be 10 times worse than Arteta. We're all basing it on opinions. And like I always say, they're like arseholes. Everybody's got one.
And they all stink.
Yeah, and they're not factual. They're not factual. It's just all guesswork. We're guessing. All we're going off. So got a better CV than somebody else, but maybe you guys have been in a position at work where you look over people's CVs and you go, well, this guy's been doing the job for 5 years. This kid's fresh out of college. I'll go with the guy that's been doing it for 5 years. Doesn't mean he's better.
Well,
just gives you a little bit of a guideline of what you might expect. That's the only difference.
When it comes to this stuff, I mean, you have to look at not only experience, but also the circumstances under which these guys have been managing. And Andrew, like you said, with Ancelotti, other than his first job, he's always found himself in a position with a club, big club, established players, world class, and they'd spend money. So all he's doing is you see what the puzzle's supposed to be. He's just tweaking it a little bit, fitting everything together, and then off they go. And with Allegri, he's coaching the best team in Italy with the most money. In a relatively weak league. That's my first choice was Pochettino, and even Pochettino comes with questions. And I think if Pochettino came in right now, would it have been no? But not everybody would have been happy with him. And the question I think behind Pochettino would have been, is he not just some Tottenham scum coming in here to try to wreck our club even further? So they're all going to have their pros, they're all going to have their cons. And at the end of the day, we have to trust that the board is going to make the right decision, because it's at the end of the day, it's all guesswork,
Yeah, I mean, I could never get on board with the Pochettino one, as you say. Every time I look at him, I just see a Spurs scum. I just never could have accepted him as manager. I don't know.
Andrew, I didn't really see it like that. Although I didn't like the idea of it, I was saying to somebody on a podcast last week, why would he come here? What would he come to Arsenal for? Well, his only real upside would just be to stick it to Spurs because he's got sacked. Apart from that, he's only really got...
He shouldn't
come. Well, that's it. All the other side of it, they're all downsides for him. He's much better off waiting for Man United or Bayern Munich or somebody. I couldn't get my head around that, why he would come to us. Not why fans would want him, why he would actually come here. It made no sense to me.
Sorry, that was the one thing that I would say is, I mean, I try to take everything else out of the equation. As a fan, as a supporter, we're a lot more emotionally invested in the success of our club. I try to think about things from the decision maker standpoint and take all of that bias out of the equation when it comes to Pochettino. And my thing was, he didn't have a whole lot of financial backing at Spurs, and he took a top half of the middle of the table club and pretty much dragged them kicking and screaming to a Champions League final with no financial backing. And I thought he would have done well here, but to Sai's point, why would he come here? Why would he have chosen to come to Arsenal other than to look at Spurs and Daniel Levy and say, look, watch what I do watch what I do in the good end of North London, you idiots. Watch what I do down here with your bitterest rival.
That annoys me, though. We should have owners who shouldn't even look at Pochettino because he used to manage Spurs. That's as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, but shouldn't you take your fan hat off there and put on your business sensible hat?
Not when it comes to Arsenal and Spurs. I couldn't do it.
I know, but thing is, Andrew, one of our best captains was from Spurs, in my opinion.
Yeah, we had no choice. He was thrust on us, and I do like. It's not the same as a manager, though, mate. It's not the same.
No, I agree with you there.
A manager is far more important than a central defender.
I think at the end of the day, and I kind of hate that I even mentioned it because we kind of got off topic here. It's hopefully it's a moot point. But to me, it is always about getting the best man for the job in this business. And if the best man becomes available, and he just happened to play for your arch enemy, but he becomes available and you can use him in whatever position he might be it manager or head coach, be it a striker, be it a central defender. What if it's the water boy, for crying out loud? If he's the best at his job and he becomes available and you need him, you go get him. Period.
Not for me. There's 6 million other managers in the world. I'll just go for someone else. It doesn't have to be an ex-Spurs manager who won for all, by the way.
I just thought it was interesting.
Apart from the Audi Cup.
Well, people want Pochettino. People wanted Pochettino and people wanted Mourinho. And for me, there was a little bit of a difference because, I didn't want either, to be honest. Pretty similar to you, Andrew, just going along the club thing. And I don't really want someone that's been on the other side of the, enemy line.
It's dirty. It smells.
But the thing is, it's at least Pochettino carried himself with a bit of class. He didn't really ever go down the route of bad-mouthing us, did he? Whereas Mourinho did. He said some pretty shitty things about the club and about Wenger that was why I would never have had him in ever. I'd have really struggled to get behind him. I really would have done. The idea of him on the front line.
Hang on 1 sec. I'll be right back.
Mate. Okay, mate. Well, let me just go through a few comments as well. Sorry, just quick. Thank you, Stan, for watching. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Melvin. I'm going to go through some of your comments and questions in a moment. Really glad to see you all here. And let's look. Stan says about George Graham managed both clubs, and Terry Neal. They went the other way. He went the other way. That was his decision.
They could have him when we're done with him.
No, thank you. Exactly. Yeah. Ryan. This is Ryan McMurray from the Arse Bros. He said, "Oh, please, Andrew." Well, that's my opinion, mate. It's my opinion. You've got 100 million other managers we could choose from across the world.
I can't see, Andrew. That's why I can't give you stick, because that's exactly what I said about Mourinho. Is why would we go and get a guy that said toxic things about this club when there's loads of other managers out there? Why would we go and get a guy that has already said those things?
I know. Well,
don't get somebody who hasn't.
People put it on Twitter as if you've only got two options, otherwise you're going to die, or your mum's going to get raped. No, you haven't. You can go somewhere else, mate. Go somewhere else. Let's have a look. All right. Potch one, nothing for the scum. Why would we want him? I don't know. He's bad, but he doesn't understand why he's number one for fans. That's absolutely right. Pat Jennings, he wasn't our manager, Stan. We took Sol, don't see the difference. He's a defender. He's not the same as a manager, Stan, in my opinion. Not at all. If Arteta backfires down the line, how does the board come back from this after them fucking up twice in appointing a head coach?
But you can't.
You've got to say with any appointment. Any
Yeah, but you can't say that. It's like any of us going and getting a gas or electric supplier or a phone network. Just because I go to Orange next and the signal turns out shit, then I go to PlusNet or wherever, that turns out shit. Then I go to somebody else. You've got to make mistakes. You have to. That's part of life. You learn the most from making mistakes, not from your success. I don't get that train of thought at all.
No. The most important thing is that they're making the decision for the right reasons. You know, it could go well, it could go wrong, but they need to be making the decision for the right reasons. As it stands, I can see the theory behind it. Hopefully, when they do announce him, they're going to go into a bit of that and tell us the reasons behind it.
That's what I was just going to say to you guys then, was do you hope that Josh also comes out and gives a reasoning behind why they went with Arteta?
Yeah.
Because that's what I want. I want to hear why he was the choice.
I don't think Josh will come out and say it.
No. I don't think it should be Josh. It should be, you know,
well, you know what I mean? Whoever it is, somebody higher up the tree. Because they did it with Emery. They came out and gave us all the feel of why they picked Emery.
Yeah.
So I would like to think they'll carry on with that and trying to get a bit closer to fans and stop being so separated from us and the club now, where keep us in the loop a little bit. You know, no one wants to know what Josh has had for breakfast, but I do want to know what he's... Yeah, I want to know what you know, now we don't see any of the financial stuff. Now they've got 100%. It'd be nice if we were just kept in the loop of what's going on. You know, I've got people telling me that they're using us to fund the Rams, which is one of the most ridiculous things I've ever heard.
Yeah, I'm going to move on to something different, sort of part of this conversation in a sec. I'm just going to read out one more sort of comment here from Stan the Man. Aubameyang's brother tweeting on AFTV that Freddie and Arteta are the same with sad face emojis. Maybe this is what Dortmund meant about him being a negative influence when he agitates for a move away. He's starting to piss me off now, same as a lot of other players, because this is really unprofessional. And why is he not saying to his brother, don't fucking do that. You dragging my name through the mud. Stop doing shit like that, please. Why does he not do that?
This is it, Andrew. It's just having common sense as his brother. You know, if my sister becomes Prime Minister tomorrow, I'm not going to start sending dick pics to people. You know, but you know what I mean? Or acting the prat online, because then it looks badly on my sister. You don't need to be told that. He should know that this is a club that pays my brother a lot of money and they're not doing particularly well. So although this is my opinion, I keep it to myself.
Right.
Or I text my brother and go, sad face, Arteta. Don't put it online, you silly dickhead. You know, go on, right?
No, I was just going to ask you if that meant I had to delete the dick pic that you sent me the other day.
Yeah, no. Don't
couldn't
stop you now. Your sister ain't Prime Minister, so just carry on, mate.
It's the only one I've got. It's like that wallet I've had since 1988. It's just the only one I've got. It's on a nice warm summer's evening.
You got the little ruler next to it, the 6-inch ruler.
Oh, it's taking a turn for the worse here, boys.
We're doing well so far. We've got dick pics and turtle heads, but
this is the quality content you've all turned up for.
Yeah, exactly.
Boy.
What I want to go on to is the squad that Arteta is obviously going to be taking over, and what changes need to be realistic. I want to be realistic here. I don't want all this little stuff you get online all the time where the changes people are wanting. When you look at it and you add it all up, it's going to come to about 500 million. I mean, I put I don't know if either of you guys saw it yesterday. I put on it's just something I was thinking about, and just put it down on a tweet about my ideal first stage changes, realistic changes, and what a lineup could be at the start of next season. And I had a really good thread sort of really building with a guy called Peppermint Butler, which is at Naftrax, Naphttrax. I was having a nice conversation with him about it. Now, the lineup I put, and it was just something off the top of my head. It's not something I put any major thought to, but I've got Leno in goal. Right back, Max Aarons from Norwich. Saliba. I've got Ben Godfrey from Norwich. Tierney. And then in front of those two, I've got a 4-2-3-1. Partey from Atletico Madrid again, alongside Torreira. And then Pepe, Grealish in the middle, Martinelli. And then above, in front of those, Jovic from Real Madrid, who they're offering reportedly in part exchange for Aubameyang a few weeks ago. And I thought that was fairly, genuinely realistic with some sales. Partey was pretty much desperate to come last summer. He's got a release clause apparently of 50 million. So that's more than doable. If we sell, which we'll go through some of the ones which we can sell in a moment. Godfrey's obviously would be a risk, but I rate that kid a lot. And what this thread sort of developed into was that we should be looking at clubs better than, buying players from clubs better than Norwich. And that sort of really tipped me over the edge with anger. Because if you start looking at just one example, a basic, easy example, you look at Andy Robertson from Liverpool, who was bought from a relegated team, Hull City, for £8 million. Now, they weren't being snobby when they looked at, when they went and bought that kid. And Aaron's, no doubt he will just walk into our team at the moment. And absolutely the same with Godfrey. But there's also Tarkowski from Burnley. I'd be very happy with him as well. He's got a 15 million release clause, apparently.
Can I just say one thing to you, Andrew, on that comment you just made? Is we were told that we were about to outsmart the market. Well, you're not doing that if you're buying at highest price, which is buying from the clubs that have already developed these players. That makes no sense.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Look at Maddison. He's another one from Norwich.
Yeah.
He was...
Look at Jamie Vardy. He's the prime example.
Fleetwood Town.
Yeah, played at Fleetwood 5 years ago. Yeah.
They bought him for something like 150 grand or something ridiculous, and not even that, I don't think.
I got pelters for saying that I'd swap Aubameyang for him, and I got absolutely hammered for it. But I would swap him in a heartbeat.
Mate, look at the way he would work for the team, and look at the way he would snap all the rest out of this stupid slumber that they've got all around him on the pitch. He just wouldn't put up with that, would he?
No.
And we need to stop this snobbery because there's loads of good quality players. I mean, Grealish as well. We've missed the boat on him price wise. Unfortunately, his price is going to have gone up a lot this season. But I'd have him in a heartbeat over Ozil.
I'd have him over Ozil, but I'm not. I don't think we should go and get a Grealish because I think we've already got some young lads that should be playing a bit further up the pitch where he'd play that might do as good a job.
Throw another name out,
I wouldn't be against it.
Jared Bowen out of Hull City.
Sorry, say that again. You broke up.
Jared Bowen.
Oh yes,
out of Hull City.
Yeah, there's a guy actually. I can't remember his first name. Easy is his surname, but it's EZEE, I think. Plays for QPR. He looks incredible. I put some videos of him online a few weeks ago. He looks the real deal as well. But he's only about 18, 19, I believe. Someone like he definitely needs to be bought. He could be another, a little gem like Martinelli down there from the lower leagues. But we need to look closer to home a lot of the time. And the main thing that we need is, you're all very well trying to save money by buying the foreign players from France, etc., etc. But it's always still going to be the same as appointing a manager that we were talking about earlier, a big risk because they might not take to the league, or it might take them a bit too long. You want, as a business owner, when you make a big outlay, you want instant,
return.
Instant return. Thank you from your outlay, and you can wait for some players to come through and take their time, and because everyone's different, everyone's an individual to adapt to things. But sometimes you really do need to have an instant return, especially in the top league of football. So when you're actually going to buy someone, a couple of players like those Norwich youngsters I was talking about earlier, at least they're going to be battle hardened from having a whole season in the Premier League, and they can adapt a lot quicker, and they speak the language. It'd just be so much easier. Sometimes, sometimes you will have to pay a little bit of a premium for buying a British player from another Premier League team, well, I'm sure they're going to go down, unfortunately, Norwich. They play good football, but you're going to have to pay a little bit of a premium still. But it's worth it because you are almost more guaranteed that they're going to get a straight return from these guys immediately. So I do think it is quite a realistic sort of look to the team for next season. I mean, I've got a bit more of an insight into Grealish than you, Si, because I live in the heartland. Well, all my kids go to school in the heartland of Aston Villa. All their mates are Villa fans, and their cousins are Villa season ticket holders, etc. And he has come on in leaps and bounds since he was last in the Premier League.
Massively. I totally agree.
I 100%. I could almost guarantee you, I can never say 100%, but in a better quality team than Villa, he's a very loyal guy, obviously. I wouldn't be surprised if he does finish his career at Villa. But if he was taken out of that, he's very much like a Matt Letizia guy who should have been taken out of Southampton. The Southampton fans won't like you say that, but if he'd have gone somewhere like a United or whatever, he would have been, well, he would have had like a hell of a lot more England caps, put it that way, and he would have flourished. And the same with Jack Grealish. In a better quality team with better quality players around him, he will look even better than he is now. I honestly, I really genuinely believe that. But
I look at it as a little bit of a football purist where, Aston Villa, I work with them a lot, and that is a massive club, proper sleeping giant of football. And I quite just... But
they are shit.
Yeah, but the thing is, the soppy sod inside me likes the fact that they've got a Villa fan as manager and a Villa fan as captain. I quite like that about them. I think that's something everybody should tune into a little bit. It's a big part of me why Stevie G was so good at Liverpool, why Lampard was maybe not so much at Chelsea, but that's why these guys give it their all, because they actually care. They actually care about the club they're at.
That's a great quality to have in a player, and I'll be honest with you, we don't have enough of that at Arsenal right now.
Well, we have it, but that's it. We have it in kids, don't we? And that's not really where we need it.
Right.
That's the sad thing is, though, it's very, very rare nowadays, and there's a food chain in football, as we all know, and we're part of that food chain. We lose all our best players all the time, unfortunately. It's just the way things happen in this modern game, and I think if he really is serious about improving his career as a player, Jack Grealish, he's going to have to move on from Villa, because unless they get taken over by an Usmanov type themselves, then he's going to have to, mate, because he's not going to. He's another one. He would have a lot more England caps if he'd have moved already in his career. There was talk of him a couple of seasons ago going to Tottenham, wasn't there?
I suppose it's just what makes you happy, Andrew. The guy won't be on bad money at Villa. He'll still be becoming a millionaire. He can walk around Aston, around Birmingham and around Aston area. He'll have the keys to the city, I'm sure, at the moment. So, I don't know if I could maybe just play for Salford down the road, and everybody loves me and I'm on 50 grand a week. Would I move to London for another 20 a week? Probably not.
It's down to you. Like I said, if he wants to improve his career and and perhaps have a chance of going to the Euros in the summer, then he's going to have to do something about it, isn't he? And
I just can't deny anybody that feeling of enjoying being a big fish in a small pond.
Mate,
it's easy to be comfortable, isn't it? It's easy to get comfortable then. And
yeah, I mean, if I played for the club I love and the club wanted to keep me, then there's no chance I'd move anywhere. But that's me. I would do anything to stay at the club. But it depends on what kind of player he's like. But like I said earlier, I can see him staying at Villa for the rest of his career. But if that's the case, if he does want to move and the club are wanting to sell him, he's definitely the sort of person we should definitely have a look at.
Like you say, I think it's interesting if they went down, whether they'd feel like they'd have to sell him then.
Yeah.
Because like you say, what do you think they'd get for him? 40, 50 million?
I'd say probably 50 now after this season, because he's proven himself again in the Premier League.
Somebody's going to come in somewhere and offer them. They're going to back a truck up to Villa Park and
I think United will get him personally.
Well, I thought the same. I thought United and Spurs were probably ideal places for him, to be honest.
Yeah.
He would slot in perfectly for United. They really lack creativity up front. He works hard as well. He's his work rate really goes unnoticed because of the skills he's got. But he works really hard for the team as well. You know, he gets kicked black and blue. He's one of the most fouled players in the Premier League. And he would fit in perfectly there. However, selfishly, I think exactly what we need as well up front to work rate. Imagine a Mesut Ozil who actually really works hard, like a Martinelli type. Imagine what you could get out of that. And that would be perfect for us. It really would. But anyway, that was all pie in the sky, really. But it did create quite an interesting thread. There's so many examples. I mean, you look at John Stones. I know he's having a bad time at the moment, but he's a good defender. He came from Barnsley as well. Just another example. Kyle Walker, he was at Sheffield United, and I mean, you can go through the entire Sheffield United current team. I mean, look at that John Fleck. He was a free transfer from Coventry City. I'm not saying he would be a good player for us. Probably would be. He's probably better than our midfielders at the moment. But I'm just saying that once you've got a good coach, and this is the whole point. Again, I'm going back to this whole point of what I was putting out there. Under a good coach, you don't have to have all these flash names. You need to have a specific type of player to fit your system. Now, you look at Sheffield United, and that team is full of players. 9 players that played on the last weekend when they beat Villa, funnily enough, 2-0. 9 of those players have played in both Leagues 1 and League 2 that they started. Now, because they've got a fantastic coach who's incredibly clever, and he's chosen these bunch of players because they listen to him and they will do anything he tells them to. Look what you can achieve, you know. And we wouldn't be shopping at quite that bargain basement level, but look what he's achieved with League 1 and League 2 players. It's incredible. So if Arteta is the real deal, there's no reason why we can't start looking at those types of players from, around sort of the Championship or the teams below us in the league, which we wouldn't have done previously, and see whether we can mould those guys into the type of people that will do anything for Mikel Arteta.
Very much like.
Yeah, sorry.
Go ahead, sorry.
No, fire away, mate.
I was just going to say when it comes to team building, it's just like the managerial search, the coaching search. It's not about getting the best guy or the most expensive guy. It's about getting the right guy, and there's a massive difference between the two.
Oh, definitely.
I had this conversation Sunday again after the Man City match. I hung around outside the stadium for a while and just milled about talking to different people. And, we talked about, captain and things of that nature. And a comment that I made was, when it comes to the captain, it doesn't have to be your best player. It doesn't have to be your flashiest player. It has to be the guy who deserves the armband, because at the end of the day, he's going to drag that team kicking and screaming to the promised land. Whatever the promised land might be for your particular club, that guy wearing that armband is going to drag that team kicking and screaming to wherever they need to be. And so it's not always the flashiest. It's not always the most expensive. I want a team full of guys who are going to look at the other guys and I'm going out here to do this for you. I'm going out to do it for the badge, and I'm going to do it for you. And I want 11 guys on the pitch that way. It's the right guy, and it's about chemistry, especially in this sport, because it is the ultimate team sport. Every single guy on that pitch, every single outfield player, I mean, the goalkeeper excluded simply because you've got one job to do. Ball has to stay out of your net. But, even when you play out from the back, or the goalkeeper's, distributing the ball, all 11 guys have to pull in the same direction. And this team, Arsenal, right now, we are a club who consistently, and I don't think it's down to the manager, I think it's just who the players are. We're consistently running out 7, 8 guys, match in and match out, who are individuals. They're not really interested. They're not really interested in the team. I don't know why, because I was thrilled when we signed Aubameyang. Absolutely thrilled. And I'm just going to kind of pick on him a little bit because I'm getting that sense from him now. But that's where I'm at in terms of team building. Sorry, go ahead, Andrew.
Well, I think it's a massive change in Aubameyang since he became captain. I don't know whether you guys recognise that. There's been a massive dip since he became captain. And the way
can I ask you guys, though? Sorry, Andrew.
Go on.
I was just going to ask you guys about the captaincy thing. Do you think that becoming a bit of a joke has made a massive difference to the mentality of the squad? Because, even Socrates came out and said, we don't care who the captain is. That's not normal to me. I've never heard somebody come out and say that in my life.
What we need is, we need a guy, right? I can't remember who it was. Pepe, actually. It's Pepe against West Ham when he was getting kicked to shit. We need a guy to walk up to that player and say, oh, he's my boy. You fucking touch him again, you're going down.
I hate to go. Sorry.
That is what we miss. We need someone to walk up and protect their own players. Someone that will actually get hurt.
You say you want
their players.
You want like a Roy Keane that goes, "What, you're going to kick Ryan Giggs? Watch what I do to you next time you touch that ball, mate."
You remember Vieira doing that to Keane?
Yeah. Yep.
Because when it was Reyes was getting kicked to shit that game.
Yeah. This is now again. I tend to do this on a lot of podcasts, so forgive me. It's the American in me. I do tend to revert back and make comparisons to North American sports. But in ice hockey over here, you have a captain and you have two assistants. And being a Pittsburgh Penguins fan and watching them the most, our captain is Sidney Crosby. And in the playoffs, you see guys taking liberties at him, smacking him in the head with their stick. And all of a sudden, you get one guy comes in and just grabs him by the jersey, shoves him up against the board, and just keeps whacking until somebody comes in and stops him. Says, that's not how this is going to go. If you're going at him, we're going at your best guys, period. That's the way this goes. You want those players, Andrew, to your point, that when you see Pepe, taking these kicks and these god-awful tackles, it could break his leg, and nobody is stepping in to help him.
No one else.
What on earth kind of a team is this? If you do that to my guy, I'll get kicked out of the game. You're going to know I'm there. You're going to know I'm there. You
should be like family. If you're out on a night out with your mates and some guy stood there taking the piss out of your pal's jeans, say, mate, shut your fucking mouth. You know what I mean? You stick up for people, and that's what worries me about these guys is that,
that's why we're a bunch of individuals.
Exactly.
It is terrible. Yep. I totally agree with you, Si. No, I've never known a team like it before. This bad. Never.
No.
Not in my whole lifetime have I known a team, especially Arsenal, would have not had one single player that would do that. And that is just depressing.
I have to laugh, Andrew.
Very, very important. Very important.
A mate texted me yesterday and said, are we still Arsenal Football Club or an episode of Bad Lads Die?
Yeah.
And I thought, it's true. That's exactly what we're like. We're like a bunch of insubordinate, juvenile young men that need kicking into fucking shape big time by a man.
And
because it's the way this lot are conducting themselves. I find them all very embarrassing at the minute. That they're all quite happy to come out on the social medias and give it the big one. Show us. You don't need, asking about unity from the fans and all that. Give us something to unite over then. Give us a performance where all of us come together and go, this is our club.
What would make the stadium roar more than see one of our players go in and fucking take down some player with a crunching tackle that had just been doing it to one of our players?
Yep.
That was what we need for a lift. That would give the whole club a lift, let alone the stadium. How much do we miss that? So this is something that's the most important thing we've got to get in this, either January, ideally, if not 100% is the most important signing of the summer, will be someone that will go and do that. Someone who will lead this team and tell this.
Yep.
I mean, Mesut Ozil, right? I don't want to spend too long on Mesut Ozil. I think, who was it? I think it was Stan put a comment on saying he went down to Chinese yesterday and they've removed number 10 from the menu. And it's, but he's actually, I saw on Twitter as well, he's genuinely, this not serious, but it's an actual true story. Ozil's been removed from PES 2020 in China. They're taking him out the game, full stop. I mean, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole, but if I want someone on the pitch who, if he sees Mesut Ozil do anything like what he did yesterday, not just the fact that he was shit on the pitch, but the way he walked off, I would want someone to walk over to him and say, "What the fuck are you doing? Get off that pitch."
But this is the thing, Andrew. This is what I'm saying. If you look at some of these captains we had Koscielny, who left on a bad note, that then put on another club shirt or whatever it was. We've got Mesut Ozil, who was a captain, that's having a paddy and kicking his gloves. We've got another captain in Xhaka who's telling the fans to fuck off and throwing the armband. We've got another captain in them that just doesn't seem to care anymore, and it's all a bit of a joke to him. And his brother's taking the piss online. These are our captains.
They're not
these
captains,
are just players.
are they?
But
they're not.
But at our club they have been, and it's embarrassing. It's so embarrassing.
It's almost a matter of like who's the most popular player in the public eye.
It's been a popularity contest.
I think the only one I would say probably doesn't really fit that bill is Koscielny.
We need. I mean, I've said when we in the summer, I said it was all going around Twitter, as you all know, who should be our captain. I said Tierney straight away. I get people going
exact same as me, mate. I said Tierney and Guendouzi.
Everyone was going on at me saying you can't appoint a captain, a new signing as a captain. It just won't work. I said I don't care how long they've been at the club. You need the right mentality and you need the right personality. That is all that matters.
But that's the same in the real
captain right from the start.
But it's the same in the real world, Andrew. That's like working somewhere and saying you can't outsource a manager from somewhere else. You've got to give it to one of us first because we've been here longer. No, if that guy's got more,
not if he's better for the job.
Yeah, if he's got more management skills, then he comes above us.
Right.
It's really simple, but it's like what you were saying there about manager. And this is why I haven't really pinned my colours to somebody's mast of who I want, because I said I'd have Doris the tea lady with Marjorie, who does the butter in the toast with her. If she comes in and brings in a style of football, I don't, and gets us in the top 4, well, she's the best candidate then. Names don't really work for me. And just going on what you were saying about identifying players, I mean, I've been saying it now since I was still in short shorts 20 years ago, that all the best teams have a spine. They have a good goalkeeper, a good centre-back, a good centre-mid, and a shit-hot striker. When was the last time we had that? Because I struggle to remember. And that's what we're missing now is, for me, going off what you said, we've got a very good goalkeeper and we have got a couple of very good strikers. So for me, just in January, get rid of Xhaka and get rid of Mustafi. There's 50 million quid. Well, that buys you one of them. That gets you either a good centre-back or a good centre-mid. Then go and spend another 50 getting the other one. You can go and get, that Demirel or Derimbe or whatever he's called, the guy that wants out of Juventus. He's shit hot. Could get him for 30 million quid.
Oh,
Demirel.
Demirel. Is he?
Demirel.
Oh, Demirel. Sorry, yes.
Yeah. But you can go and get him for, he's available for realistic money. Going on I'd love someone like Partey or Decore or Ndidi. I just think we're priced. Well, I think we're priced out of those maybe. There's a guy called Sangare that plays in France, and he's a very similar type of midfielder, big, powerful.
But you don't want the healthy version of the real version, do you? You want to go.
But you've got to be careful there, Andrew, because then you're going on about somebody that just hasn't had as much game, as much limelight as them guys. They could be just as good. You just haven't seen it as much.
100%. That's very true. Very true. But 50 million release clause in this day and age is not a lot of money for the right.
Well, Andrew, I saw that same thing that said it's 42 million for Partey. If that's true, we should go and do that. No two ways about it. That's what I totally agree with you on that, mate.
You cannot piss about over the 1 or 2 million in this marketplace, can you? It's just ridiculous. It is ridiculous.
Well, Andrew, are we not learning lessons from the Suarez thing? Where could we have actually gone off the back of that season if we'd have signed him? Where would we actually be right now? I don't think we'd be in the same position.
Of course not. Of course not. So
and that was over £1 or whatever. I don't know whether that was true, but
Well, Ryan from the Mr. Arsenal podcast, Ryan, is the best memory I have of our players fighting for each other was back at Old Trafford in 2003 in the season. Absolutely. What would you love to see a team like that fighting for each other on the pitch again? I mean, it's just chalk and cheese, isn't it? What we've got now. I just don't. Well, it's just so so sad to see the team we've got out on the pitch representing this club at the moment.
Yeah,
it's just fucking diabolical.
It's like, Andrew, somebody pointed it out to me after the City game and said, "Look at the yellow cards," and I was like, "Hey, what do you mean?" And he was like, "Look, how are City the ones getting all the yellow cards?"
Yeah,
and people laughed about when Guendouzi took out Zaha. But it was a clever thing to do. It was a clever thing to do at the time.
Yep.
And this is what we aren't doing anymore.
There's no physicality. There's no leadership. Sorry, Si.
It's just Freddie said it, didn't he? He said the same thing. Maybe we need to be a bit more cynical. It's like, what, are you only just learning this, Freddie? I've been saying that about England teams for 30 years.
I know.
Play the same as the foreigners do. Be a bit more cynical. Be a bit more... Guendouzi, for all of his faults, he's brilliant at that. How he just falls over and then grabs the ball straight away. And he forces referees to make a decision.
I think he does the right thing by doing the foul, but he's not brilliant at it because he could be a little bit more subtle than actually.
No, Andrew, not the foul when he's getting fouled.
Oh yeah.
When he falls over, he instantly grabs the ball to say, "We'll make a decision now."
He doesn't let the ball continue in play. He falls over. He's grabbing the ball, and he's going to force the referee to blow the whistle and make a decision one way or the other.
No, I will. Thinking of his rugby tackle, that was just really, it tickles me every time.
I could go on for a half hour about Guendouzi, but
he is very. I mean, he's so much in danger. If we hadn't made the change until the end of the season and we'd stuck with Emery, then he would have picked up so many bad habits that would have probably ruined his career. If I'm honest, I'm not even overreacting. His age now, it's like when you've got a little toddler and they're learning everything around them. When you're a footballer, his age is the most sponge-like when you're really learning everything, and that's he's picking up so many bad habits that will ruin his career. He needs a coach now,
but
that's the
environment he's in, Andrew. If you put yourself in Guendouzi's position, who are you looking at in that squad? Going, I can't wait to learn from you. There's no one.
No one.
Nobody.
Exactly, but that's the problem. He does what the fuck he wants when he wants on that pitch. And he said no guidance.
Right.
But this is what makes me mad when people start giving Guendouzi a dog's abuse. And positionally he isn't great. But for me, that's a big part of he should be playing in Ozil's role, not as a holding midfielder. He should be allowed to just roam around and spray the ball about. But the thing for me is, if you're aiming abuse at Guendouzi, why don't you look at why are we leaning on Guendouzi so much? Because we've got a 27-year-old captain of his national side that is absolute dog dirt. That's the guy who I'm angry at. The guy that's the reason why we're having to play Guendouzi, why we're having to put so much pressure. A bit like Martinelli. Why are we again having to lean on an 18-year-old?
Well, I mean, in his case, we should be. Not leaning on him. That's the wrong expression. We should be playing him though at the moment. Not every single match, but when you're old enough, you're good enough. I'm sorry, but he needs to be in the team. I'm not saying he should be playing every minute. Absolutely not. He needs managing, but he should be a first team player. But Guendouzi, I don't think he should have played hardly at all last season. I think he should have played the cup games.
That's exactly. I'm with you on that, and when I saw how much he was playing last year, I was stunned. Utterly stunned.
If you watch a podcast of mine, I did it before last season started when we signed him. I said, "Here's another kid who we will put in sink or swim situation too soon, and his shoulders aren't broad enough. He'll sink at some point, and it's no shock to me. A year down the line, we're sinking him badly, and now fans are turning on him, and we shouldn't be. We should be nurturing him still, And that's my only fear with Martinelli is maybe he has got broad enough shoulders, but I don't want to see. I love how he's progressing now, so I don't want to see him play more than he is now. I'm enjoying watching him flourish as he is. I don't
exactly.
It scares me only because I'm basing it on this. It's unfair because he's not Bukayo Saka. He's not. But look at what we did to Saka. He came in at the start of the season, started looking lively, and we went right. Let's throw him in. And like I say, there's a big difference between getting 20 minutes at the end of the game and saying go and enjoy yourself and express yourself, and then starting somebody going, I want a goal or an assist from you today. That is a lot of pressure for a 17-year-old.
Right.
And that's all that scares me with it. It's the only thing that scares me with him.
That's the difference between having a strong, good coach, because if you were a strong, good coach and knew what you were doing, you would have put him in, that Saka, you'd have given him a taste. You'd have put him in for a game or two, and then you take him back out again because it keeps him hungry.
Yeah.
And he wants more. He wants to get back in that team, and he keeps working hard.
There's no competition.
I said the exact same thing, mate. When you've got him, you've got Nelson, you've got John Jules, you've got some other young guys. Just keep rotating those guys. Keep them all fighting for a place.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
have them all hungry to get that spot, and then when they do get a chance, they perform.
Guendouzi lost his hunger last season because he was playing every game.
Right.
He thought he'd made it, and he's got too big for his boots. And it's in lots of ways it's not his fault at all.
Well, I said it a while back, Andrew.
He was put in that position.
Yeah.
Name me some players in our first 11 that are genuinely under pressure for their position.
Well,
yeah.
I want to really quickly go through this. We're going to have to start speeding up because we're going to have to start sort of wrapping up relatively soon. But I said this question about 20 odd minutes ago about the squad that Arteta's taking over, right? And we went off on a tangent, and it's been a good one, so I don't regret that. So don't worry about that. But in the defence, we all know that we need a new defence, but we still need new fullbacks, even though we've got good quality fullbacks. Look what's happened. We haven't got a left back now either. So I mean, Tierney's obviously the first choice in my opinion. I think I love the kid. I absolutely love Tierney, and that was a great purchase. But he's been so unlucky. I feel absolutely gutted for him when he went off the other day. Centre backs, although I mean earlier on in the season, Chambers was his attitude was fantastic. He was playing out of position, but you could see him trying his best for the shirt. But he's, as much as we like him, he ain't good enough. Chambers, I'm holding back on Chambers because we still haven't seen enough of him, and he was put in. We don't know. We haven't seen him in full form. I think
it's a real shame with Chambers as well that we've not got to see him in a defensive mid. It's for me. It's because we haven't got any centre backs that can play instead of him at centre back. But if Holding had been fit, I'd have quite liked to have seen Torreira and Chambers at the base of midfield.
I think I made a Freudian slip. I meant Holding because I've mentioned Chambers about being not good enough, and then I said I went to move on to Holding. We haven't seen enough of Holding as a central defender because he needs a good run in the team, and we haven't seen that yet. So I can't make a judgment on him. I don't think anyone can. People are saying on Twitter all the time, he's shit. We've got to get rid of him. Well, I'm sorry, but that ain't gonna. We don't know yet. We haven't. We don't know yet. So well, I'll put him to one side. He could be good enough. I think he shows a lot of good characteristics, but that's all I know at the moment. But we know Socrates, in my opinion, Socrates he should never have come to the club. Absolutely,
totally agree.
Totally agree.
Luiz, I would probably keep hold of Luiz as a midfielder, but not a starter. I'd put him in central defensive midfield. I wouldn't play him in defence. Don't know what you guys think about that, but that's my opinion.
That's exactly what I've just said about Chambers. Totally applies the same with Luiz for me.
Yep.
I wouldn't mind seeing him or Chambers next to Torreira in midfield, but while there's no centre backs, one of them's going to have to play there. It's a mess.
Tony Turner's put a couple of comments on. Actually, completely agree, Tony. You put Holding needs to be loaned out. I think that's a perfect opportunity. I think we should loan him out, get some first team experience, and get his fitness properly up to speed. Mavropanos, he's also put needs sold. He also, I mean, I take the word of Harry Symeou, for the Chronicles of Viguna. He has said for a long time that Mavropanos is not good enough to be a professional footballer, let alone at Arsenal. He's actually not good enough to be a footballer. I
love Harry, but I don't agree with that. And I think that's very unfair because the guy is a professional footballer at a very big club, so he can't be that bad. But I do agree that he's maybe one. I did see that tweet from Harry, and I do sort of agree with. You can't keep giving some people time after time after time. Some people just aren't good enough.
Yeah, but he hasn't. Yeah. He hasn't had the time either, has he? So I can't comment personally because I haven't seen him play that game.
But again, Andrew, he's another one where he can't stay fit. It's a lot like I argued with people over Cazorla last year. And people said we shouldn't have got rid of him. No, we should, because that was a sensible business decision. Based on that, the guy is only fit for two weeks a year. It all looks great now in hindsight that he stayed fit where he's playing. Yeah. But you can't risk it on that. You can't say I'm going to pay a guy 80 grand a week in case he plays 2 weeks in every 52. You can't do that.
Well, Mavropanos, in my opinion, he should go out on loan as well for a season.
I think we've either got to loan him out or sell him. There's no point in keep trying to nudge him.
He's got to go one way or the other.
100%. 100%.
I'd be more on loaning him out because I do want to see him get regular first team football somewhere. Because I do want to see what is there You know, I want to see what's there for a full season.
We've made a mistake. I was all over Twitter at the end of the season when we got rid of Christian Bielik. I don't know. You must have seen me. I was backing his drum all the time. So we're hold to this kid, and we're massively paying the price now. He's doing really well at Derby County. He'd be perfect for us at this situation to fall back on. Absolute joke of a decision to sell him. I'm sorry, but it is. And we don't want to make the same mistake again. Mavropanos could be good if he's given a good lengthy run in the team. So let's see what he gets on.
He's another one, Andrew, going back to what I said, is that he's a youngster that we put in a sink or swim situation where he wasn't playing, and then all of a sudden we put him in at Old Trafford and expect him to perform in that one game and then drop him out for 6 months again. It's like,
mate, every player needs a run of games to get fitness, and I've said this 100 times. He's never had that. He's been chucked in at the deep end every now and then. And what's he expected to do? I just feel sorry for them. I really do. And I mean, people, when we sold Christian Bielik, I'm sorry, I don't like to keep going off on tangent. We got 10 million for him, and everyone was raving about, what an amazing price we got for Christian Bielik. I'm sorry, mate, but he excelled in the Euros that summer last summer. And if we were looking abroad for a really high quality 21, I think he was 21 years old.
Yeah.
And if we were looking at someone with a massive look at Open Meccano. He's 20. And we're being quoted 70 million quid for him.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're not being seriously, Christian Bielik has got more experience than him because he's played for longer. And we're only asked, we got 10 million and we think we've done really, really well. I'm sorry, but that's
only because we're used to losing.
Mate,
seems like a lot these days.
Anyway, 10 million quid for a really promising young central defender who can also play
in the
field. That's shit.
But it's like you say, Andrew. Who was it? Liverpool. They went and got 20 million for Dominic Solanke. How are we only 10 for Bielik? It's mad. It's mad.
I just did not understand that. It made me so angry. But anyway, we're going to pay the price because one day we may end up buying that kid back for 40 million quid. Someone else will, or more. I'm telling you, that kid has got it. But anyway, let's not go too much on it. But right back, we've only got Bella in because I'm sorry, but Maitland-Niles, in my opinion, he's had over 100 games now, the same as I believe, for Arsenal as a professional footballer. I may have got that wrong. Don't quote me on those figures, but he's played a lot of games for Arsenal. Put it that way. I don't think he's got the technical quality of being an Arsenal player. I hate saying that. One exception, and I've said this again 100 times, and I've put a fear of repeating myself. If he actually made a decision that I am going to learn that right back position inside out, and I'm going to be the best right back I can be, and he made that conscious decision himself, he could actually be a very, very good right back. I genuinely believe that. He's got all the attributes.
Yeah.
He's not weird, mate. He's not good enough to be a midfielder.
He's hell bent on being one.
I know. He's got to get it out of his... He needs a good, strong coach to take him to one side and say, look, mate, you got to a crossroads in your career. Do you want to actually make a career at Arsenal? Because if you do, this is your excellent opportunity. Be a right back. And you could have a very long career at Arsenal as a good right back.
It's just so funny, mate, because I said the exact same thing on my last podcast, which was I'm a massive fan of Ainsley. I'm a massive fan of him. And I'd be gutted if he left. But I said the same thing. I'm so desperate to see him get a run of games in midfield. But maybe I have to accept the same as what he might have to accept, which is exactly what you've just said, is that it's right back or nothing.
He's not technically good enough as a midfielder.
It's going to be right back or nothing at Arsenal. And Si, I'm with you. I'm a massive, massive fan of his. Every time he gets a run out in the midfield, nothing. He's invisible or worse. And it's bad enough to be invisible as a playmaker, but when you're hurting your team, you can't do that. And it just every time he gets a run out midfield, he just doesn't take the opportunity. But he's had some gems at right back. I agree 100%.
He's got all of the attributes. Very, very good right back. Really good. But he just does. He needs to learn how to defend properly, and he needs to learn that position inside out, like I said. And if he would do that, then absolutely keep him, because I think he could do great things.
Yeah.
But as a midfielder, and I last time I saw him live was at the Emirates Cup, and I said this on a podcast afterwards. He was really close. I was sitting not just to the right of the goal, and he was right in front of me for a big part of the game, and I watched him really closely, and it was pre-season, so I'm not completely putting everything that my thoughts into that one game, obviously, but I just thought I had so many doubts about his actual technical quality on the ball. His first touch wasn't there, and that was a number of occasions. He didn't get any better throughout the game on that occasion, and he just can't. He hasn't got the body. It's hard to explain, but he hasn't got the body movements, the lower body movements, to actually get out of tight spaces in midfield, which is really important in that, and lay the ball off. Simple technical qualities he just didn't have, and I just thought to myself, "Oh my God, he's just not good enough. He ain't got it." I remember thinking those exact words throughout the game, because I loved the guy. He's an academy graduate, and I really wanted to succeed, but the penny dropped for me on that day, because I'd had those thoughts for quite a while, and I just noticed certain parts of his game which I don't think he will be succeed, especially at a club like Arsenal as a midfielder or a wide forward. So that's his only opportunity, as far as I'm concerned, personally, just to be a right back. But he has to make that decision, because he's got different ideas, hasn't he? So I still think we need a right back. I think we need a left back. We need.
I think this is the problem, Andrew. Is we could probably do with one person in every position on the pitch, but it's gonna. That's not realistic, is it? So we're going to have to start with priority and prioritize. So it's like, I think a lot of people would get rid of Bellerin if that was all we needed to do at the moment. I know a lot of people that would get rid of him for somebody else, but we need so much more pressing positions than that. I'll settle for Bellerin for the time being. He's not that bad.
It's like what I said at my sort of that team I went through earlier that I put on Twitter. I had Partey and Torreira next to him. Now Torreira, in my opinion, I think we need to sell him as well. But I need, on the list of priorities, someone alongside him is more important. And Torreira, we can make do, but he can do a job for us there at the moment. I still don't think that he's right for us. Because of his mentality, and I explained this on the Arse Brothers podcast not too long ago, that the problem I've got with him is every time we turn around, he's got his agent going on about him being upset. He wants to go back to Italy. He's unsettled. And we're always hearing about these rumours of him going back to Italy. That pisses me off. That's coming from somewhere, because if he didn't want that to be in the public domain, I'm sure he's got it about him to actually say to his agent, like Aubameyang to say to his brother, "Can you just fucking stop that, please?
Yeah.
You're fucking wrecking my career here.
Yeah.
I'm happy where I am. Thank you very much." None of that's going on, because it keeps going on and on and on. And also, if he's not moaning about wanting to leave, he's fucking crying. I'm sorry, but you've got to have a certain mentality about you to be a high-level professional footballer. So just fucking grow up, mate, because at the moment, you are not filling me with confidence that you should be on the pitch, because we need a fucking sea change in mentality that we talked about earlier. At the moment, that's a big concern with me about Torreira, that he's obviously picked up bad habits as well after working under Emery, and he still thinks he's Eden Hazard, but being down the other end of the pitch. So if he can rein himself in and actually be a good defensive midfielder again and learn that role again, I think he needs to relearn that role. I think he's just got so much out of his head that he needs to relearn it.
I think you're hitting a massive nail on the head there, Andrew. It's not now just getting in players where you've got to get them to play to your style. We've got a lot of players now that we just need to get back to actually playing football. Right. Because they've been wrecked by previous regimes. I totally agree with you there. And
Torreira's a perfect example of that, because I think there's a footballer in there. And I think he just needs to rediscover the role that he was originally brought in here to play. And I hate to say it, but boy, I think Unai Emery just absolutely wrecked him by trying to play him somewhere where that's just not his forte. But I like Torreira. Just to that note, Andrew, I really want to see him stick around, and hopefully Arteta can bring him back to what he was. Because think back to the World Cup when he played for Uruguay 2 summers ago. I mean, he was, oh my Lord, yes, absolutely, Si. That's exactly it. He was top class for Uruguay in the World Cup.
He always is for Uruguay. Always is for Uruguay.
Yeah. The unsettled stuff in London. When did that start, though? It started a little bit over the summer, and it just progressed from there as Unai Emery continued to play him out of position. And I don't get it.
Unai Emery has wrecked a lot of our players, and I'm going to quickly move on to Ceballos, because this may be controversial to some people. I really, really, really think that he could be a very special player, and I would still buy the guy.
Yeah.
I think it's another one that was completely ruined by Unai Emery. And I'm going to, in this part, I'm going to throw in Willock as well, because I think the same things happened to him. His confidence and Ceballos' confidence were just fucking off a cliff under Unai Emery. And they were, I mean, I was so angry with the treatment of, especially Willock in this particular point, because he's our own boy. Ceballos, at the moment, he's still a lone player. So my protection is on Willock at the moment.
Yeah.
Because he's one of us. And I think I've got big high hopes for Willock, but he's not going to do it for another couple of seasons. And as much as it pains me to say it, I think he's another one that needs to go out for a season-long loan. Because if he could spend, and I said this again on the Arse Brothers podcast, if he could spend a lot more time in the gym to bulk up a bit and really work on certain areas of his game, in 2 seasons' time, I think he could be a player very, very much in the mould of Thomas Partey that we were talking about earlier. But he needs to bulk up, because at the moment he's like a beanpole and he needs more experience. But I think he's really got it inside. I think he could really be that player. But at the moment, he's far too weak at the moment. And
he's maturing massively, though. Before the start of last season, I said he's the least likely to get in the first team. I said he looks like he's built out of pipe cleaners. And then when he came back at this pre-season, I thought, oh, all right, he's obviously been, eating 5 meals a day, filling out a little bit. Like you say, I think we now need that next step up again, where then you sort of...
Yeah, I think if he could work on that, it goes on a season-long loan next season, but actually gets a lot of games. Then the season after, I think we could have something very, very special on our hands. I really do.
Yeah.
Ceballos, before he got injured, he showed in flashes. I think very, very quickly, and very, very quickly, I think you can tell whether someone's actually got it as a player. Real technical ability, that quality on the ball. I could see it very, very quickly with him that he's got an awful lot of very, very special technical skills and ability. He has got some really bad habits, not from us, but from Spain, that we'd need to iron out. But I think a good coach would take 5 minutes to sort that out with him on the training ground. And I think he could be an absolutely brilliant number 8. He needs to be the player to take the ball from the defenders and just sort of progress it up the field.
Yeah,
he needs to be so much more disciplined, because he literally, it's like watching. When if you've got a kid and they start playing football in a team for the very first time when they're maybe about 5, the ball goes there and they're all swarming around the ball like a flies around shit. There's no positional sense whatsoever. They just all follow the ball around the pitch.
Yep.
He's a bit like that on his own. He literally wants to follow the ball everywhere.
Yeah.
And he's got that in his head. And I think that's very much a Spanish thing. And I can't remember who it was. I heard someone else say this on a podcast, that he passes the ball and he follows the ball after he's passed it to get it back again all the time as well, which is something it may work in Spain. The person that said it, I can't remember who it was. It's very much a Spanish thing, and
because they play those tight little triangles.
Yeah, exactly, and that may work for for some teams over in Spain, but it certainly doesn't work in the Premier League, and he needs to sort of iron that out of his game a little bit more and be a bit more disciplined in his role. But I do think that if we can get him at a good price, I'd love to buy him and get him on a permanent deal, because on top of what he needs, his mentality and it's very infectious as well, and he's got that kind of personality that we're missing as well. You can just see it, even when he was on the bench and a goal scored.
Right now, I'm at the 30 million mark. I'd be happy if we paid 30 for him. If we paid 50, I think it'd be a big gamble. But I agree with you, Andrew. I think there's a massive player in there because I've seen it. That's the thing that, Torreira, that's why I disagree a bit, because Torreira, I've seen it. I've seen a monster of a player in there. That's why I don't like Xhaka, because I've never seen that player. I've never been impressed by watching him play football. There's other players in our team where, under 23s World Cup or whatever, I saw Ceballos. He was a beast. Yeah. Torreira in the World Cup, like Tanner's just said, you saw some impressive performances. I can never think of one from Xhaka.
I'll tell you right now, with this whole Xhaka thing, and not to keep going on about him, but just real quick, when you think about what he brings to a game, what impact does he really have? You have to get. He's great at 25-yard free kicks on net.
Well, and he's a great professional footballer should be able to do that.
But that's his thing. He doesn't really, with Xhaka, I've never seen him really bring much more than that. So his effect on a game maybe is 60 seconds out of 90.
I banged on last week after the West Ham game, and I was sat with my mate who's sat here now, a United fan, and I said, watch Xhaka in this first half. Just watch him. Watch what he does. And he just hides in the half spaces all the time where he can't be passed the ball. And honestly, he wasn't available for a pass at least till about 26 minutes into that West Ham game. And anybody that says to me, my captain, this guy's up, go and watch that game and just tell me how many minutes you get in before you're totally disgusted by him and the idea of him wearing an Arsenal shirt.
There's not one attribute he's got that any midfielder in all of the leagues, right down to League Two, there's not one attribute he's got that none of those players couldn't do. Sorry,
but just in our team, Andrew, what does he do that no one else in our side can do? Nothing. And all the others have got more positives than him. That's why I can't understand people say he's our best midfielder. He's our worst, in my opinion.
He doesn't have one outstanding attribute. He's not a defensive midfielder, not an attacking midfielder. He can't play on the left or the right as he's not got enough mobility. He needs. And the passing, people go, "Oh, he's an amazing passer." I'm sorry, mate, but if I'm paying you $100,000 a week as a professional footballer in the world's best league, the least I would expect is someone could pass the ball 25 yards to 30 yards to another player.
Yeah. Well, this is what I say, Andrew. That West Ham game was the prime example of Granit Xhaka. That was for me the worst I've ever seen him, and I do not like him one bit. But even being objective, that was the worst I've seen him. And like I say, you get to half time. And he's not been available for a pass really once. And then in the second half, we'd have got beat by West Ham, the same as we'd have got beat the other night for me. But both of those teams made mistakes in seeing us as weak and going for our throats. And what they should have done is both gone, we're quite desperate for a result as well. Well, West Ham should have done that. West Ham should have gone 1-0 up and gone, right, we just need to win 1-0. If they'd have shut up shop at 1-0, we'd have got beat. We'd have got beat 1-0. But because they went for us, it opened the game up, and then we had the counter-attacking football. And that's when we look good, when we start playing fast, because we've got good counter-attacking, pacey players. But even in that game, in the second half, as soon as we equalised, he suddenly starts going, all right, pass me the ball now. Pass me the ball.
He wants to be involved. He wants everybody else to get in and do the work.
But what was he doing in that second half? How many times did he play the ball across the edge of our box and give it away? 6 times. Well, and that's in 45 minutes of football. He played 2 good passes in that game for me that went forward. 2. And like I say, I made a point of going back and watching that game.
I'll be back in 2 seconds.
And trying to be objective and saying, did I see this right the first time? I want to have another look and draw a proper opinion on it. And I implore everyone to watch that West Ham game and Granit Xhaka and defend him, because I was appalled. I was absolutely appalled.
The only thing I've ever defended Granit Xhaka on is the abuse that he's taken online and the things that people have said. That's no place for that whatsoever. But as a footballer, now I don't know what we ever saw in him to bring him. Where was he? Gladbach? Is that where he came from? And for what, 30 million, 35 million pounds? That's insanity, because I haven't seen a 35 million pound player in there myself. And Tony in the comments, back passes, slow tempo, and fans shouting to shoot it from 40 yards out. Yeah, there you go. That's what he does. He goes backwards and lateral, side to side, and that's it. There are no more words. I got to start on the Xhaka thing. And
it's a bit different for you because you're American, but honestly, watching him take dead balls is like when Harry Kane was doing it for England. It's embarrassing. It's like, somebody take the ball off him, because I can't watch any more corners hit the first man. I can't watch any more free kicks go flying. I just stop it. Somebody else have a go. And that's another thing with Torreira. He's a great dead ball specialist. It's crazy we've not used him at all.
Yep. The
guy's a demon.
It just goes back to, look, I'll be honest, this Unai Emery thing, man, and what he has done to some of these players and just regressing their careers it's criminal. It's
absolutely frightening.
It's almost like he was like a Tottenham spy sent to destroy us from within. Seriously, I mean, I don't want to go off on. He's going to have some massive editing to do, because we're at an hour and 36 minutes here, and I think.
I know, well, I've got to go soon, because I'm meant to be on another one at 9 o'clock.
I got to run too, because I got to get some food. I've barely eaten anything since we've been home. Should we just leave while Andrew's gone? Nah, yeah. We're out of here and let him wrap up. No, I
just come back to a tumbleweed. Just don't a tumbleweed.
Yeah.
But no, it is interesting on the like you're saying the players that are in the squad, like how many.
Had to go and deal with something.
But no, it is interesting on the like you're saying the players that are in the squad, like how.
Yep, we can hear his computer now.
Great, can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
Sorry about that. At least my show's in good hands with not one but two hosts.
We just made fun of you behind your back. That's all.
I know that we're gonna have to start wrapping up, but the front three, I'm going to quickly go for it. I mean, the forwards, I'm very happy with all of them. However, I would definitely quite happily. In fact, who was it that mentioned on the comments? I think it might have been Tony. I don't know.
While you're looking at that, Andrew, just on that note, when you were saying before about if there's actually a deal available with Madrid where they're looking to give us, if they gave us Jovic and Ceballos,
that's it
for Aubameyang.
Tony Turner
plus 30 million or something like that. They wanted to give us Jovic.
Either Jovic. I'd straight swap Jovic for Aubameyang.
Well, if we can get Ceballos as part of the deal as well, absolutely.
That one that I saw one that was Ceballos, Jovic, and 20 million, and I just couldn't stop laughing. I was
20 million. Yeah. Hey, real quick, Oxford just leveled against Manchester City here, 1-1.
I wouldn't be surprised if Oxford won that. They're playing brilliant football this season, Oxford. But I would happily sell either one or both of Aubameyang and Lacazette personally. I think Aubameyang and Lacazette, I think they've been absolutely. I mean, Aubameyang we've discussed earlier, and Lacazette's attitude this season has been disgusting as far as I'm concerned. He's really pissing me off, if I'm honest. The way he looked on the bench the other day was just unacceptable. And do you know what? Apparently, I didn't know this, but apparently when he went up to warm up and down the side of the pitch, he was wearing trainers. I mean, what the fuck's that all about? We're a professional fucking football club.
But this is somebody
training.
Andrew, but somebody pointed it out the other day. Like, the other week there was a ball boy warming up with the players. The other day it was like a doctor or someone was having a kick about.
Oh yeah.
Ainsley Maitland-Niles with his chain. It's just no one's taking it seriously. I've been saying it for years. It's Butlins FC. It's been that way for years.
Embarrassing. It's embarrassing. They're allowed to do what they want and get away with anything. And I'm sorry, but if my player started running up and down and I mean, don't get me started on the substitution with Saka. I mean, what the fuck? As soon as a player hits the deck, that the player in that position who's on the subs bench, you go and jump up and start warming up immediately. And the fact that they're not even ready, it's just beyond a joke. I mean, the whole culture has got to go. It's got to change. But anyway, I know you two got to shoot off. I really appreciate you both your time. We've been on for an hour and 40, so thanks ever so much. I'm sorry we've overrun. But I mean, personally, I think we've probably covered. I think we could have gone on for another double the amount of time. But there's so much to talk about at the moment. We're not going to. I know you can't anyway. But I think we could, pick this up again. To be perfectly honest, because there's so much to go through that there's important stuff. But I think we've got through quite a bit though today. And in summary, I think it could hopefully turn out to be a good appointment, but we should all, as a fan base, please let's fucking just give him some time. Let's not get on his back. It's not going to be an overnight thing. We all know that. So just give him some time to actually settle.
It was the same with me with Emery. I said it can have 2 to 3 years for me. And for me, Arteta's going to be the same. As long as things, there might be a rocky patch, and I'm sure there will be, because I don't see things. I think I said it the next 10 games, I said we'd get 6 points. People hammered me. Well, we've played 5 games and we've got, 5 points so far. And we've got all of our hardest games left. So I don't really I didn't expect us to win those games before we got Arteta. So I don't expect us to win them with him if we do bonus. But I think people need to really look a bit more long term. This is...
Yeah.
We do have to get behind him, whether you like it. He was your ideal guy or not.
With Emery, and I was and Si, I was with you there. I wanted to give Emery, I wanted to give him 2 years, but it started really Crystal Palace last year when the downfall, I think, with Unai Emery started, and I think for Unai Emery, he needs to go to a club where achieving Europa League qualification is a massive, massive accomplishment for them, because that's his thing. And
he should go to Espanyol. Espanyol would be perfect. Yep. They're going to be looking for a new guy.
That's a good shout, Andrew.
They're at the bottom of the league at the moment, and
unless the run of form is what, and Emery needed to go. I'm not saying that we should have given him till the end of the year. I was Emery out pretty much after Watford. I was full blown Emery out after the Watford game. At that point, if the run of form is that bad, and you see the same mistakes being made game in and game out, that's coaching, and he needed to go. But with Arteta, sorry guys, watch is going off. With Arteta, 2-3 years easily. I just don't. I was never excited about the Emery hire. I think Arteta will get it right, and I think we will. I think honestly, we'll see a change straight away.
Well, I think that what's important for Arteta is that he needs to actually show us that this is the way we want to play. This is we obviously haven't got the players to do that at the moment, so we need to replace players, and we need to work to this project and get there in the end. And not when I say in the end, I'm not talking about like 5 years time or whatever, but we're going to get there. But we need players. And we need some patience. We will get there. We all need to understand that, but we need to know what the plan is.
Right. That is exactly it. Communication. What is the plan? What is our style?
That's all you can really expect to see over the next few weeks. We want to see a style of play. We want to, even if we're still shit, let's see the idea. Let's see what this is, because that's what we've not had.
The only other thing I want to see out of Arteta when he comes in is a ruthlessness with the players. This is why I never wanted Ancelotti to come in here, because he's too lax with his players. His training sessions are easy, relaxed. I never wanted Ancelotti, because this team needs a disciplinarian to come in and say, it's time to shape up and, pardon the language, fucking fly right. Because this team has been too laxed and gotten away with too much for too long, that, back to your point, Andrew, we're seeing guys, in trainers on the touchline warming up, Ainsley Maitland-Niles with his chain, that cannot happen. And for a head coach to just say, yeah, okay, well, whatever. No, you're not going to play. You're not going to play. So go collect your paycheck, but sit up there and watch.
None of this. I just want to quickly add. I don't blame Freddie for any of this, to be perfectly honest.
No, not at all.
And I really, really hope that none of the fans have turned on him or do turn on him or start dissing him in any way, because he has been set up to fail from the moment he took over the job. The fact that he's got having to use the fucking club doctor to go and help the warm up, that is just an absolute embarrassment.
Yeah.
Fucking embarrassment. I'm sorry, but
anyone who turns on Freddie or slates him for any of the results that he's been in charge for, first of all, they don't understand sports, let alone understanding football.
He's not had hardly any actual training sessions where he can work on a shape and work on team tactics, because he's always had a warm down day after every match. Now every match he's had the game every 3 days. Yeah, so he's had a warm down day, then he's had one training session, and then the day before, if it's an away game, they go and travel.
Yep.
So he's hardly had any time with the players. So it's just I hope we get a role for him within the club. I don't know whether that's going to be a possibility, but I really do hope that that's the case, because it'll be such a shame to lose him. I do think he'll be. I don't know whether he'll ever be a good manager or a head coach, but I think he's an excellent coach to work alongside someone. And I do hope we find a space for him somewhere still within the Arteta. I don't think Arteta's got a backroom staff, so fingers crossed that might be a possibility. But anyway, I'll let you guys go. Thank you ever so much for being on. Everyone watching, I can't thank you all enough. It's been fantastic. Thanks ever so much for all your comments. It's been really good. Some good stuff in there, funny stuff as well. If you can please give us a like, that'd be fantastic. Share it with your friends, and tune in for next week. Subscribe if you haven't done so already, and please, by the way, subscribe to these two guys' channels. The Bearded Gooner got a fantastic channel on YouTube, and obviously Psycho. Is it Gunner Talk, isn't it, Psycho?
Yeah, mate.
Gunner Talk. Please subscribe to those two guys' channels as well. They're all part of the Gooner family, so let's please support each other. And everyone puts out some good content, and it's only for the benefit of you guys that are listening. Thank you very much and watching. So until next time, thank you guys. Take care.
Take it easy. Nice one, brother.
Cheers, lads. All right.